Do you feel like you're constantly bashing your head against a brick wall? Are you frozen with indecision and never quite know what to do? Or do you feel like just ripping your hair out when you're playing games? Then perhaps you should get yourself some lessons.
Hello and welcome to Broadsword Wargaming. In this video, I took lessons in wargaming and I'm going to tell you what it was like and whether or not I thought it was any good. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please do click that subscribe button for more videos to come, or check out the links below if you wish to support the channel in any other way. Now, as I said, I took lessons in wargaming. For this one, it's Blood Bowl 2 in particular, although I think the skills and the things I learned are transferable to all kinds of wargaming. It's all about how you set up, how you deploy, what your tactics are each turn, and it really gets you thinking about what your major objectives are throughout the game. Now, the coach I am taking lessons with is AndyDavo. He was ranked number 2 last year, I think, and is in the top 10 for like the all-time players of Blood Bowl. So knows what he's doing. We use the online platform Blood Bowl 2, the cyanide game on Steam. Been playing it for quite a while. I myself am an okay player. I'm like a 60% kind of win rate player. But I came across Andy's channel because he destroyed me in a random match when we got paired up against each other, and he absolutely wrecked me twice, in fact. He told me he has a channel. I then checked it out, and actually he has a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel, so check those out in the links below. Do give him a follow, do give him a like. Really good guy, and really knows how to play. I'd never thought about doing this before. I didn't really know this was a thing, but it is. So I'll show you what it was like, what happened, and I'll catch you guys back at the end to let you know how I thought it was and if it in fact improved my game. The first of the 3 lessons was about an hour and a half. And in this, we ended up going through the really basic stuff. So before we even got to playing or got to looking at games or anything I'd done before, he wanted to sort of talk about me, my goals, what I wanted to do, where I thought I was weaker. He sent me like a little chart and sort of rank yourself out of 10 at how you feel you are at doing different things.
If you go back and objectively look at 1 or 2 of the turns over like an 8-turn drive or an 8-turn half, you can probably say, right, I know that the guy scored on turn 5, turn 8, whatever, but actually went wrong for me 2 or 3 turns before that. Or actually, do you know what? The reason that this whole drive went completely wrong was my setup. Yeah, the dice weren't helpful, but the setup, the strategic element was wrong.
Once we did that, it was all about making a plan for your turns and securing the ball, making sure things are safe, doing things in an appropriate way, because Blood Bowl is a risk management kind of game. So it's all about dice rolls and which ones you should do first, in which order. Same as kind of like 40k, it might be about charging orders or shooting, things like that.
Now, that also gives you an idea of another thing, which is reroll management and clock management. So in the first few turns, do you need to be re-rolling critical failures? No, because actually you can save your re-rolls for the important turns later in the drive, because your first action of that turn should have been, let's make the ball safe. Your second action of that turn should be some dice rolls, and then if something goes wrong, you go from either that's really annoying and shake your fist at the screen, or you go, yeah, it doesn't matter. But equally, it shouldn't affect your gameplay, and games can be lost by having consistent bad dice. And people say, oh, it's the dice. No, it's your reroll management throughout the whole drive. Good coaches can afford some bad dice and get away with it, and that's exactly how they're doing it. And this is another why, and it's strategic. How do you solve that problem?
The next thing we did was look at some previous game footage. Now, the advantage to doing this online and doing it on Blood Bowl 2 in particular is the system is very good at allowing you to replay games. So Andy sat here and sort of said, what is your thought process? He really asked me the questions, and it got me thinking, although I could see what I was trying to do, I wasn't maybe doing it to the best possible way to do it. I wasn't taking advantage of my players' skills at all points. I wasn't trying to stick to my main game plan, which we'd spoken about, which was trying to score later and looking after my team. Now, this kind of thing really does work for 40k and other game systems, because it's all about the process of what your goals are all the time. The main thing you need to think about is, what are your goals at the start of every single turn?
How do you always decide what the right thing to do is? Now, now I've gone into this team and we've got 2 actual teams in front of one another. Let's have a quick look at the 2 teams' strengths and weaknesses, because that should determine how we actually set up and how we play. So the first thing is, let's look at their team and and see, right, have you got any sure hands? How many rerolls have you got? How much block have you got? How many kill skills have you got? So are you likely to run out of players? What's their ball handling like? Let's look at that.
We went through what I could have done differently, how I was deviating away from the initial plan, and then once I started to really go through the games, I could start to see where I'd made mistakes, where I had perhaps switched to a plan B at a point when maybe I shouldn't have done, or I tried to do something that was too unlikely to happen, and the chance of failure there was quite critical.
If we could reorganise this a little bit, we've got a guard player here. This guy could easily sweep into this square here, and the Mighty Blow War Dancer on the second dice could blitz there and punch the Rotter out of the way, and then everything else around the back could then sweep through that same square, because you're going to run through the square, and we can then sneak through. So if you were to stack enough players up with the principle of that we know the guard is going to go where the guard's going to stand, we know where the Mighty Blow War Dancer is going to go, we could comfortably set up some other players, so we could have a player maybe there, and a player, let's say, round here, that's a catcher, and if we could get one in maybe there, the ball carrier on turn 2 could comfortably stand there, and we could have a player there, and all of a sudden you've created yourself a screen, the ball has gone deep into his half, the following turn, virtually unopposed, you can score.
It was really interesting to hear Andy's point of view on the things I was doing, and I sort of tried to explain why I was doing something. And it's not to say I'm wrong. There are like 10 different things you can do with everything at all times. So there's no real right or wrong answers here, but there are things, if you're trying to achieve something, there are the correct ways to do that. I think what really I should do now is challenge Andy to a full proper game that he maybe records, and I don't lose 4 or 3-0, and I try to put all my new skills to the test, and then maybe at some point I'll go up on YouTube like my previous shameful death matches have, and you guys can see what happens. So if it does, I'll post it along somewhere in YouTube and let you know and show you the video, and you can maybe watch a game and see if perhaps I did learn anything or not. Well, there you have it, that's the video done. How do I feel that went? I guess the first thing I should say actually is thank you very much to AndyDavo for doing this with me. It's been a fun project. It's something I've got a bit of a passion for the game, so it's been really nice to try and learn from someone who is really good at the game. How do I feel about lessons in general? I think they're really good. It's not something I'd thought about in relation to wargaming before. I play poker a bit, and there are just things in the same games there, the same with Warhammer, the same with other things that you can be doing to improve your game. And the overall thing I take from this is really, you should be thinking about what you're doing and why at the start of each of your turn, midway through the turn, at the end of the turn, and then try and think about what your opponents are going to do if you do something. If you're trying to play competitive Warhammer or competitive Blood Bowl, competitive anything really, the main things you need to think about is what are you trying to achieve at all times, and make sure you stick to that goal. If that goal is no longer achievable, switch to plan B and make sure that is as well, and play towards that. Play to the strengths of your army or your faction or your team, whatever game you're playing, play to the strengths and play against your opponent's weaknesses. Going through games that you've played previously, perhaps if you play a game against an opponent, whether you win or lose, what you should maybe do is sit down for 10 minutes afterwards, have a pint, have a beer, have a water, whatever you want to do, have a cup of tea, and talk about the things that maybe you thought they did right and wrong, and vice versa. Do this in a friendly manner. It's not criticism, it's not having a go at someone. Luck happens both ways. You know, some games you just set up and you win because everything just goes your way. Some games you set up and you don't win because nothing goes your way. Always be considerate, always be friendly, always be nice to talk to, because you might learn something from the people who are playing against you. They might spot a real big hole in your game and you didn't even know was there. That's probably my takeaway. Would I recommend lessons on Blood Bowl with AndyDavo? Absolutely. I think he's a really nice guy, has been really nice to talk to. As I said, check out his Twitch channel, check out his YouTube channel. They're both linked below if you want to get better at that game or just want to learn about the game in general. Blood Bowl 3 is now on the way, so it could be a really good time to get into it. That's enough for me on this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the alarm bell for more videos to come. Check out the links in the description below. There's links there to my Patreon. That gives you access to a private Discord group where we talk about tactics and hobby in general. Thanks to all my patrons. Because of you guys, I can keep going. There's also links down there to Element Games, to Grim Dice if you want to buy your models. And there's links to my Amazon shop for what I deem my hobby essentials in the terrain building or the hobby world in general. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you in another video. Take care.